Let's do a full face of Merit Beauty and I'll share my brutally honest thoughts on each product. I'm pretty sure I have like every single product in the Merit collection, so I'm pretty well versed on this brand. They have two different items for their skin prep. So firstly is the Great Skin Instant Glow Serum. I haven't used this as much as everything else for some reason. Sometimes it feels a little bit weird to put oil on your face, but I'm going to use this on one side of my face today. You can see there it is incredibly runny. I feel like I remember this being nice. I mean, it feels very nice on the skin, again, if not a little bit oily. Then on the other side, I'll use the Great Skin Priming Moisturiser. I absolutely love this moisturiser. It is pretty much hands down my favorite moisturiser to use under foundation. It's very unique in that the specific instructions on the product are to apply foundation or SPF straight after application. Normally, you know, you have to wait for moisturisers and skin prep stuff to like really soak into your skin, whereas this one is a true moisturiser. But I've used it with loads of different foundations, applied them straight away without waiting for it to sink in, and it always makes my skin look amazing. I also have two foundation products. So there is the classic, the Minimalist Stick Foundation, and then the very recently released, the Uniform Tinted Mineral Sunscreen. I'm going to use the tinted sunscreen as a base, and then I'll use the stick foundation to add coverage, because this has a very, very light coverage, and I'm also using the Merit brush to apply. I like this brush, but to be honest, I only really ever use it with Merit products. I don't know why, but for some reason it just doesn't sit well with me to use it in other brands. This tinted moisturizer, however, is so beautiful, especially if you have dry skin like me. As I said, it's very minimal coverage, as are most tinted moisturizers, but it truly is so moisturizing, and you can't go wrong with this product. Like, you can apply it with any tool, and it's just one of those ones that's always going to look very smooth on the face. The only thing I'll say is that there can be a tiny bit of pilling. It's very easy to get rid of, just like with your finger. Oh, and by the way, I have this in the shade 28, and that is a pretty perfect match for me. I have a pale neutral to warm undertone. Now let's add some coverage with the Minimalist foundation stick. So I really like this foundation stick by itself. However, I've used it over the top of this tinted moisturizer a couple times now, and it's not my favorite combination for some reason. I would also say, despite the fact that it's to add coverage, it's still not got a huge level of coverage. Like, this is still a very natural product, but it's definitely one of the nicest stick foundations I've used as a foundation. So over the top of another product, I don't love the texture of this. It tends to look a tiny bit cakey, but by itself this looks really smooth. In terms of how the products are sitting, I can't see a huge difference between the serum and the moisturizer, to be honest. So I think I would rather just use the moisturizer just for ease of application, but both of these are nice. And again, the shade, I have this in the shade Silk. Okay, next is the Bronze Balm. This is obviously a stick cream bronzer. I have this in the shade Clay. Frankly, this video is probably going to get really boring because I genuinely love most Merit products, and this bronzing stick is no exception. This is the bronzer that I will like always take with me on holiday because it's in stick format. It's so easy to transport, but also you'll be able to see this just blends out so beautifully. Like, it shears out really nicely, so it's perfect for pale skin. It's also the perfect sort of shade and pigmentation for pale skin, and just like that, it's blended. So same goes for these Flush Balms really, which is obviously the stick blusher. I mean, they're sort of a stick, although they're a lot flatter and wider, and I absolutely love the design of these because you can just apply it straight to your face. It seems to just cover, at least for my face shape, the perfect area of my face. And again, it's in the name, but Flush Balm, it really does add a super natural flush color. Again, if I'm out and about and I really need to apply something super quickly and I want to guarantee that it looks nice, I'll bring these. So the shade Terracotta that I just applied to my face, they discontinued it and then they brought it back after so many complaints, because trust me, this is the #1 most truly neutral blush shade if you have the same skin tone as me. I'll swatch the other two shades that I have, which I also do love and I use under certain circumstances. So this one is Beverly Hills, and then this one is Persimmon, which I really like if I'm trying to do a sort of rosy strawberry makeup type look. So I'm going to move straight on to brows. Now I have both of their brow products. This brow pencil, which they launched recently, I have run out of this, so unfortunately I can't demonstrate it right now, so you'll just have to take my word for it that this is the best brow pencil of all time that I've ever used. I actually didn't love it at first because it's so sheer, but if you've got quite sparse and weird sort of patchy brows like me, this is so perfect because it fills out those gaps without looking like you've applied anything. I only wish that it had a little bit more product in because I went through this very quickly. So for today, I'll just show you this volumizing pomade. And again, I'm sorry, I did say this video was going to be a little bit boring, but I love this product. This is a tinted brow gel. This is in the shade Blonde. To be fair, I do like it. I don't love it as much as my Glossier Boy Brow. Nothing will beat that in terms of something that I can apply to my brows without having to apply anything else. Like, this is quite sheer, so I would always use this in conjunction with the pencil or with a brow pen or something. But But if you do want a truly, truly natural brow day, this is really nice to use by itself as well. As you can see the difference there. Next is eyes. So this is the Solo Shadow. I have this in the shade Studio. And you know what? I don't use this very often just because this shade, as much as it's so easy to blend, this shade is just like a little bit too dark for my personal preferences. Like I prefer to use something all over my lid that's a little bit lighter in color or closer to my natural skin tone. I think because I have hooded eyes and eye makeup can look a lot on me very easily. That said, it is super easy to blend with your finger. And I also forgot that I have this little eye brush, so I should have mentioned that because I actually do really like this eye brush. It's double-ended and it even has this little thin bit at the end, which I'll try and demonstrate, that you can sort of use for smoking out or like a little wing. One thing I do also want to notice is that this is a cream eyeshadow, but it dries down and it really does last all day. One thing I'll say about Merit as a whole is that their products aren't the most long-lasting, but out of all of their products, this is surprisingly long-lasting. Like it really does dry down and it doesn't like crease, even if you do have a lot of eye creases like me. Next for eyes is their Clean Lash Mascara. Now, like most of Merit's products, this is an incredibly natural mascara, so you're not going to get a load of volume and length with a mascara like this. Like you can see, it doesn't apply super thickly. So on one hand, that's really good because obviously you can't go wrong with it. On the other hand, it can be a little bit frustrating if you're trying to like build up the layers. Now it is very buildable and I will say that it does make your lashes look really wispy. But I do like it, but it's probably not my most reached for mascara. I would say for the price, it's not as worth it as some of their other products. But for a super natural no makeup day, this is lovely. Also, it is a tubing mascara, so it lasts all day. If you're like me and every mascara smudges on you, try a tubing mascara. This doesn't flake or smudge at all. Finally, moving on to lips. I have 3 lip products, so I'll try and demonstrate them all. Starting off with this lip liner, which is something they launched very recently. I have this in the shade Beverly Hills. Surprise, surprise. I absolutely love this. I mean, as you'll see, firstly, it's super easy to apply. Secondly, this shade is one of the closest shades to my natural lip color that I've ever tried. Obviously not your typical lip liner because it's quite thick, and it's also not built to be like a super long lasting and precise lip liner. It's honestly more like a thin lipstick, I would say. It's very blendable, very natural and comfortable on the lips, but if you want something that lasts a tiny bit longer than lipstick but much more natural than usual lip liners, this is your gal. And then speaking of lipsticks, this is their signature lip. I have this in the shade Ginger. It's a very nice shade. It's not my number one fave, but these lipsticks are so comfortable on the lips. They are so moisturizing. You could apply this with your eyes closed. I do again wish that they would come out with a shade a little bit more like Terracotta or something. And the very last product I'll show you is the Shade Slick Tinted Lip Oil. This is in the shade Au Naturel. Listen, I couldn't care less about lip oils generally. Most of them are lip glosses and not even oils, but one thing I will say about this is that it is a true oil formula. It's not just a lip gloss pretending to be an oil, so I do appreciate that. I just hate having like super glossy stuff on my lips. I can't really explain it, but if you do find the glossy texture a little bit icky, this is lovely because it does feel like basically nothing. I was about to finish up and then I realized I dropped the highlighter and forgot to use this, so I'll use this super quickly. This is their Day Glow in the shade Cava. I will say it is nice, but I just never pick this up. Again, actually, I'm not like a huge highlighter person. This one is very natural, but I feel like if I am going to use a highlighter, I would just rather use a powder just for the sake of like long lastingness, but this does apply easily like the rest of their products. Yeah, I don't feel like you can see that I've applied that super well, to be honest. So that is my full face of Merit Beauty. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts. Overall, I really like this brand, obviously. It's probably one of my favorite brands, to be honest. There's just something about the ethos behind the brand. Firstly, obviously, it's a clean makeup brand, but every product is designed to be so natural, which is definitely my vibe. I don't think I'm a high contrast type person, and I truly do find 99% of their products really easy to use, definitely compared to other brands anyway. So yeah, overall, I really like the brand. They are a little on the expensive side, but overall, for the products that I truly love, it is definitely worth it. So let me know what your thoughts on the brand are and whether you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts on these products. And thank you so much for watching. I hate to do a typical YouTube spiel, but if you have enjoyed this, I'm going to try and do a full face of all of the different brands that I have. So do subscribe and follow along, and thanks again.